Good morning, it's Darren Dance from ATB here with the Master Trainer, Robbie Griffiths, down at his Cranbourne complex. And I say to you, if you haven't been here, you certainly should get down and have a look at this state-of-the-art facility. Good morning, Robbie.
Morning, Darren.
Look, we're here today to get an update on the two Snitzel colts that we've got in work with you. And while I'm talking to Robbie, we'll run through the vision of the colts walking around the yard there this morning, and we'll get a progress update. And we'll talk about what sort of plans we've got in place for these two colts going forward, because obviously now they've been in for 5 weeks and it won't be that far away, and we'll be looking at trials and we need to have a program. So first off, Robbie, let's start with Igniter. Here you can see he's certainly a big strapping colt. What are your first impressions at this stage of how he is 5 weeks into the prep?
I love the way he's returned. As you know, in the autumn he won a trial here at Cranbourne, and the horse he beat ran second in the Premier. So he's certainly got great speed and great talent, but he was having a growth spurt. And when we sent him out for a rest and he come back to the farm, he just changed, turned inside out. He's a hand taller than when he was last in training. So now he's a big horse and he's stretched out. I'm really excited about what's in store for him, and I think he's going to have a few strings to his bow looking at his physical growth and development.
Walking around there, he's quite an impressive looking animal, isn't he? Like you say, he's quite a big horse. He's a really good walker, and I was pretty impressed with his temperament this morning.
Yeah, his temperament's great. He's always been really good. He's been very workmanlike, and as you can see, he's just got a beautiful loose action, and he's a big striding horse, and we've seen that when we trialled him and galloped him. And as I said, I love the way he's grown out, because I think it gives us the scope to look at all your spring classic races, especially when you're talking to stallion-making races like the Guineas and all those sort of races.
The other fellow who's about to be named, the SNITZELS Slice of Paradise colt, as referred to down here, the $1 million colt.
Yes.
Have a look at this vision. I must say, I was a little bit shocked when I saw him this morning, Robbie. Just looks a picture of health.
Oh, he looks fantastic, and you know, he being an 8th of December foal, as you know, sometimes it's easy to forget that, and he's always been behind most horses of his age, and he's made a really good catch-up time since he had last preparation. He went out for a spell to the farm, and he's just really grown. He's grown a lot. He's another one that's nearly a hand taller than what he was when we first bought him. But he's really strengthened up, and the riders love the strength that he feels underneath now, and he's really done well. So very excited about him. He's very sharp, a really sharp colt, and great action horse.
To me, he looks like he's 16 hands.
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah, I'll put the measuring stick on to be exact. I should have done that earlier. But anyway, I'm 15.2 to my glasses, and he's well over that, and the other guy's even bigger again.
Now, he's always been well balanced front to back. Always been well balanced, but what I noticed today is, okay, he's 16 hands pretty much now, which he actually looks like a racehorse now. He doesn't look like a big foal. The strength in his front half, like through his depth of girth and shoulder, he just looks like he's a powerhouse.
He is, and that's what the riders are saying. They love the way he's moved, always have, but he's just a much stronger version of that now. And the beauty of him is that you're 100% right. He's always been balanced, and he's grown beautifully balanced along, where most horses tend to get to the bottom up and then wither and so on. Yep. Where he's grown out really well. He looks outstanding.
All right, so we're happy with how they look. We're happy with how they're going. Tell us in their work, where exactly as we sit here in the middle of April, where are you up to? When are we going to see some action at the trials?
I'd like to get them towards trialling over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Naturally, the Royal Glow Igniter is more advanced because he had more practice in the autumn, in the 2-year-old autumn. Slice of Paradise, being a later foal, he wasn't mature enough to do that. So at some point in the next sort of 6 weeks, they'll probably slightly change path a little bit. The plan is with Igniter, because he is more seasoned, to get him to that latter 2-year-old racing, tick the box of having him as a 2-year-old winner, and then set ourselves up for a spring where we've got a multitude of options available to him.
Yep. All right, so in a month, we're going to have a little bit better idea of where we're up to, and you know, we could be having a soft jump out. with these horses?
Absolutely. I always give their first jump out a soft one, make sure that it's easy work for them, reintroduce them to what's in store, then we increase the activity as we go, and then once we get some good feedback and data from those trials and how they're handling their workload, then we can sort of make plans as to which path we choose for both colts and what suits them in terms of setting them up for the spring. It's all about they've got the right pedigrees, they've got the right ability, they run all the right speed. It's a matter of setting them up now for the race records to complement their pedigrees, and we've got all those options in front of us.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because this is a massive investment that we've got before us now, and we need to make sure we try to get this right.
Yes.
So far so good. We're 12 months into the program. We physically we can't be happier with the horses. Fundamentally, they're both sound. They're in work and they're on the right way now. Okay, we chose not to push them early and hammer them through the diamond and the slipper. We've given them the time. As you know, it's very important that we can tick off at least 1 2-year-old race just for their pedigree. So, we're on a stand-making path here. If they have the ability, we hope they have. So if we can pick out a 2-year-old race somewhere in June, July, and get them both 2-year-olds, that's probably the first box we need to tick.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that as we've seen with Merchant Navy, he won his first start as a 2-year-old on the synthetic to Pakenham, and 8 starts later he's a $30 million colt, so you don't have to necessarily kick off in a Blue Diamond prelude and all that sort of stuff. If it doesn't suit your horse's growth and development, there's many ways to go forward. And the luxury that we have with SNITZELS is that they're not just that they're winning everything, Darren. They're training on. Look at Redzel; he's just got better and better with age, and there's so much versatility to the SNITZEL progeny. So we're very fortunate that we've got a good amount of options in front of us, so we can complement our horses, both colts' growth and development, and not have to worry too much about finding the right path in terms of a particular plan. We've got a lot of options there, and that's the case with Igniter and Slice of Paradise, and the beauty is we tick off a late season 2-year-old race, and then we'll set ourselves up for the spring.
Yep.
And the spring's going to determine whether we go Golden Rose, Caulfield Guineas, Coolmores,
So step one, try and get a 2-year-old on the CV. Step two, and Robbie and I have spent a lot of time talking about how we do this, and I think we do see them as different horses going forward. We see one as a 1200 type metre horse, which is the Slice of Paradise, and we see Igniter potentially getting out to a mile. Look, this can change because
absolutely,
as we trial them and watch their racing styles, things can change. But from a planning perspective, right now as we sit here today, we are focused on the race. We're focused heavily on the way Merchant Navy went about it last year, because, as Robbie said, Son of Fastnet Rock paid about $350 for him. He's won 5 out of 8, and he's won a Group 1. He won the McNeil Stakes, and he won the Coolmore, and he ran 3rd in the Newmarket, and he's been sold to Coolmore for a reported $30 million. So, that sounds like an ideal plan to us, Robbie. That'd be something. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to over-race the horse. We need to follow a plan. So what we've said is we're going to target that McNeil Stakes at Caulfield right here and now. That race is run around grand final time, late September.
Yes.
So that'd be the race we point towards, and then if they've got the right ability, we can go that way. And then after that, they could deviate a lot, couldn't they?
Absolutely. And as I said before, the beauty of the SNITZEL progeny is this flexibility. We've seen that with Trapeze Artist winning the Golden Rose, and we've seen it with Redzel getting faster and faster in the sprints as he's got older. So I think that both colts will separate at some point, because Igniter is, as you've seen on the video walking around, he looks like he's going to stretch, and he'd be a lovely horse to go towards a Golden Rose or a Guineas, depending on
Caulfield Guineas would be ideal.
Yeah, well, it's great stands race, and the McNeil's a really good race to then work out after that whether you go to Sydney like Merchant Navy. I know he didn't fire, but that program's available, or you can stay in Melbourne and go towards Guineas. And the other guy, Slice of Paradise, Alingi was an absolute freak sprinter, and in the autumn she was outstanding, and SNITZEL himself, I don't know if he played in the autumn as a 3-year-old. So He's got some really good sprint options available to him in the latter part of the spring, but in the autumn as a 3-year-old, he's got a smorgasbord of races that complement his pedigree, and not just complement his pedigree, he's actually, all his relations won those races, so he's that'll work out well with his late foaling too, so
yes.
that works out great.
And Merchant Navy was a November foal, so you know he himself was a late foal and missed Diamond and the Slipper for the same sorts of reasons
exactly.
as the Slice of Paradise has. But going forward, I think it's important to summarise to say, look, we want to win a 2-year-old race with these guys. Doesn't really matter where it is. We'll put them on a program towards that McNeil Stakes at Caulfield, and then whether we freshen up the Slice of Paradise, whether he goes to Sydney or we aim towards the Coolmore, and the other guy we go to the Guineas Prelude and then the Guineas. You know, this is the plan, this is the strategy, this is the objective. They've got to be fast enough.
Yes.
So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we want to give you an indication of the races we think we should be aiming towards. The horses need to get there in one piece and they need to be sound, and we need to make it happen. Should we win them in the McNeil Stakes with one of them, I think there'd be a fairly big offer on the table the next day, wouldn't there?
Oh, it have to be. I mean, Snitzel's taken all before him. He's not just winning races, he's Quinella on them.
Quinella and Group 1s.
Quinella and Group 1s, I mean, it's quite freakish what he's doing, and these two colts have, you know, they've got the right speed. We've seen them against the clock. We know what their relations are doing on both male and female side of the family. So there's so many strings to their bows that if these colts do what they're promising us on the training track, there would be a lot of people wanting to give us a very handsome amount of money if they win any of these races that we're talking about.
Well, he's certainly the hottest sire in the country at the moment. He will stand at probably over $200,000 this season. You know, we only have to think about Seamus Award winning the Cox Plate. Sizzling's already gone to stud. Trapeze Artist won the Group 1 the other day up in Sydney. Red Zell's won an Everest and just seems to be getting better with age. Wangina was a very smart 2-year-old and has gone to stud. Showtime's a very, very good horse, won that race at Moonee Valley.
Yes, Stud Stakes.
Stud Stakes. Russian Revolution came down and won the Oakley Plate and went straight to stud. It's going to stand at 55,000. Invader, another stakes winner that's gone to stud, I believe, standing at Aquas. Cindy Kitty's fast. Aquas are already standing, spill the beans here and up in the Northern Hemisphere. So we're certainly on the right path with what we've bought. And Robbie, having come back from East to Sale last week, sitting there watching these Sons of Snitzel go through, like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting caught up in all the emotion, but question without notice, if those 2 yearlings had been in this year's Easter sale, what do you think the Slice of Paradise would have made based on what you saw last week?
I was so delighted that we did buy these colts last year, because I think they would have been out of our budget this year. I think they would have been about 60% dearer.
Yeah.
I think that he would have been somewhere around that 1.6, possibly even the 1.8 mark, and you know, like, it was incredible to see. You know, I think there was 5 millionaires in the first 32 lots, so people were after the right pedigrees and they were paying a lot more than last year. So I think that we were very fortunate that we bought in the right year, because I'm 100% sure they would have been at least 60% dearer.
So that would put him at 1.6 and probably put Igniter, you know, 580 probably puts him up into the $1 million bracket.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Because
Well, he's gone from strength to strength. Since we bought him, basically he's just about won every race.
It's just incredible. It's just like a Snitzel show all year, and as I said before, it's not just as he's winning, he's Quinella-ing them. And you know, like when Gerald Ryan had the favourite Minari in, and he got beaten in a run to the Rose, Trapeze Artist bolting, you know, another Snitzel. So I mean, he's an incredible stallion, and there doesn't seem to be anything standing in his way. And you know, we're very fortunate that we've got those 2 colts at the right time, because it's very hard. The international money that was at that sale last week, it's very hard for local market to get near.
There's too many big players, isn't there?
There
With
is.
too much money. So, Robbie, how long have you been training horses?
26 years, believe it or not. It goes very quick. I started quite young, probably a bit too young when I started, but I've had a chance to build up a lot of experience in that time, which has been very advantageous.
Are you excited by those colts?
Oh, absolutely, because I don't often...
Does it keep you awake at night thinking about it?
Absolutely. It's you don't get the chance to have this type of quality. You know, this is our we've had Group 1 horses like the quarterback, but he was a $120,000 speculative buy, whereas these colts are blue bloods, and when you see the Slice of Paradise and these champions are Lingy in the family, and you see what Snitzel's doing, to have 2 Snitzel colts of this quality, and to see what they do on the training track is very exciting.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. Are they just other horses working out there, or do they just give you little signs here, hey, I'm better?
Well, we've been very lucky that, and for the ownership group, I must get better at the IT in terms of how to send out some info, but we got some really good GPS system trackers and stuff like that. When you see the speeds that they run in that high 60 kilometre range, and running down lower lemons with the head on their chest, doing it easy. When you see that speed added into the Snitzel and the pedigree and what Snitzel's doing, I think that it's very exciting to believe that we've got the right type of Snitzel colts to do what Snitzel's been doing all year.
We just need a bit of luck.
That's all.
We need them to stay sound. We need them to be professional.
Yep.
And we need you to weave your magic.
Well, I think that they're very professional. You can see the way they walk around and the way that they handle themselves. They want to work with you, and that's half the battle. And they're certainly ticking those boxes.
So right now we couldn't be happier.
Could not be happier.
I think we got the right horses, the real deal.
I do. When I see, I've been going to yearling sales a lot of years, and I've followed up a lot of these horses that have won Group 1 races that that we liked and couldn't afford to buy, and all of a sudden we've got a chance to come home with the right horses. So these are the horses that we see other people in Group 1s with, and now this is our turn to win our Group 1s because they've got the pedigree, they've got the attitude. We've seen this speed on the track, so now they've just got to get the race day stats, and I can't see why they wouldn't do that.
So when I come back down here and do this again in 6 weeks, they would have probably had a soft jump out, maybe had a more serious jump out. I just hope we're saying the same thing.
I'm sure we will be.
That's Robbie Griffiths and Darren Dance.